It's officially the day after Bobby Portis missed the biggest shot of the Knicks season, and it's been especially rough for him as he left the Madison Square Garden arena, he was pelted with Timberland boots and empty Arizona cans. Portis also decided, instead of heading over to the Knicks' training facility for practice, to go to the local park with his good friend Nikola Mirotic and bully up on him to boost his confidence back up where he wanted to be. So now with that in the past, the Knicks are now... Wait, hold on. I just got a Twitter notification. Let me check this out real quick. The New York Knicks are heavily engaged with the San Antonio Spurs on a potential trade involving Bobby Portis from Woj? What the hell? Where did this come from? How would this even work? Well, you know, if we take a look over the Spurs roster, I guess it kind of does make sense. They only have two big men that are actually in the rotation, or two true big men in LaMarcus and Jakob Poeltl. LaMarcus starting at center and Jakob off the bench. And then also, if we take a look at the team stats section, they're one of the bottom 5 teams in the league in rebounding, which is pretty evident after not really having many big men. And Portis is actually averaging around 7.5 rebounds per game, which could help them out a lot from that aspect. On top of that, they're a very mid-range centric team with Aldridge and DeRozan working most of their magic in the mid-range area, so adding another floor spacer like Portis is not a bad thing at all. And then he's also only 24 years old, so they're a pretty old roster. DeRozan and Aldridge, their two best guys, are getting up there in age, so adding another guy like that also can't be a problem either. And then lastly, they're only 17 and 17 right now, which must mean one of these issues has to be pretty significant, and that only gives them the 12th seed in the Western Conference because of how tough the conference is. So they're trying to make a push in the Western Conference this season. They must be looking to make some sort of move, and that kind of makes sense. He's a young piece to spice up their pretty old roster, gives them a lot of needs that they need to fulfill, and yeah, that's really it. But what are they going to give up? Alright, here comes Woj again, and it's official. The New York Knicks have traded Bobby Portis to the San Antonio Spurs for Rudy Gay. What a great trade for us to pick up a guy who's labeled as a scoring machine on his 2K card but wasn't being utilized to his full potential on the San Antonio system. He was only shooting around 10 shots a game while DeMar and LaMarcus are getting a lot more. On this team, he's arguably going to be shooting the most shots, if not maybe second after Randall, but man, Rudy Gay really brings a very, very, very solid veteran leadership from the scoring output as well as just overall. He's not the greatest defender, but he is laterally more quick than both Kevin Knox and Marcus Morris. Of course, in this trade, I didn't want to risk too much and still get back a guy like Rudy Gay who can help us solidify ourselves in the playoff race instantly. And I'm hoping he definitely can do that with his scoring output from the wing, something we have needed desperately throughout the season. And into the future, hopefully he doesn't regress too much, to be honest. And he'll expire in 2021. 2020 free agency, we commit some more dollars here with Rudy with $16 million. But it wasn't too crazy for free agency anyways. And I'm happy to have him on the team for long term, if being honest. So now for our former starting small forward Marcus Morris. Of course, he takes the backup power forward role now with Rudy Gay here. And I like that move a lot for him. I'm hoping we could see something and evaluate before the trade deadline in about a month and a half. But I'm really hoping it works out with Morris because I do like his attributes a lot. He just hasn't been hitting shots. I do want to start getting his fadeaway down. Hopefully at power forward we can get him a couple more looks from that range. But yeah, it's been shaky for him. He does play really well in simulation, so I've been reluctant to really pull the trigger on a trade for him. But when I personally play with the guy, I can't really get much to go down. I usually shoot pretty bad percentages with him, and the post fadeaway that I kind of hyped up a little bit before the season, which I thought he would hit a couple more shots from, he doesn't just seem to hit. So I'm going to keep working on that with him throughout these next, like I said, next month and a half or so. And he is only on a 1-year deal, so maybe at the trade deadline we could get something back from him solid if he doesn't improve throughout the stretch. With Portis gone, Taj Gibson now moves to the backup center role, and he is 6'9", a little bit undersized for that role, but I like it if it works out rebounding-wise, even though he's not the greatest rebounder. If he can make it serviceable, I like the move for him because he can stretch the floor, so, and he also, I call him Prime Tim Duncan for half of these videos at this point, so if he can prove that that role is good for him, I would love it because I'd love to have a lot more mobility outside of that. It's not the greatest to have him at the 4 because he's not the quickest laterally, so it would be good if that works out. And now just to talk about some guys that weren't really affected in any way by the trade, but I just wanted to talk about and acknowledge them just for this video. Damian Dotson, I wanted to put him first because I don't really have much to say about him. He's just gonna be in the rotation probably forever because he's just a great three-point shooter, a solid defender. 2K doesn't glorify his defensive stats as much, but whatever. So on to Kevin Knox. Now, at the beginning of the season, I definitely said this guy was a great outline of a potential great scorer, and I still stand by that, but he hasn't really filled in the outline much yet. He has improved his field goal percentage over the last simulation that we went through, and he's over 40% now from both 3 and field goal, which is impressive. But he's still not really too reliable enough yet where he'll be seriously considered for a starting role, especially with the trade for, of course, Rudy Gay. I'm just hoping that he can consistently improve his efficiency and become a guy that consistently puts in an impact for the team. Also, they don't make him the worst defender in this game, so that also won't hurt once we can actually advance to the point where he can be a starting type of guy. So I do like what we've seen from him in the past few weeks, but I just hope that consistently he'll improve everything. Now, in our last game against Milwaukee, Frank Ntilikina, at least for me, solidified himself as a rotation player. It was a very, very, very impressive game. Now, it wasn't just the fact that he got buckets down finally. He was actually creating, his size and everything, moving around players, and he creates a lot of shots for other players. There was a play where Julius Randle got wide open on the three because Frank just drove to the rim and did a fake spin jump shot and got Julius Randle wide open three, which is rare for him. So little plays like that are why I like Frank in the rotation. Of course, his defense is probably the best, or for sure the best wing defense on the team, and we can play him seamlessly at both its 1, 2, and 3, so that definitely doesn't hurt. Alonzo Trier, now he's a little bit shaky on my list because I don't really know him yet, because I want him to be more of an ISO type of player, play the ISO, but he hasn't really fulfilled that just yet. A lot of the mid-range shots to take with him just don't go. Last game he did hit a few, but he consistently stays inefficient, but at the very least, he is a great three-point shooter. He has the highest clip on the team from three-point percentages, around 42%. Aside from Julius Randle, who is shooting around 52, but he doesn't shoot a lot of them, which is still impressive. But Alonzo Trier, I need to see him improve his defense to really solidify him as a consistent bench player, but for now he's playing solid. Dennis Smith Jr. now, this is a very, very, very big question mark because his shooting's not really there yet. It's on and off. His defense definitely isn't there, and it probably won't come in a long time, or if ever. And he's very short, so in comparison to Frank Ntilikina, I mean, his defense isn't there, his playmaking is around the same, and his scoring, I guess when we simulate, he scores pretty well, but it's tough for me to find any way for him to score when we're actually playing. So I can't say he's untouchable or that he's the undisputed starting point guard of the future, but I would like to keep him regardless because I do like what he puts in when he's on the floor and playing well. Now, Elfrid Payton, it's just not really working out with him. Now, I'm not opposed to eventually putting him back into the rotation if we have to, but as of right now, we're kind of just monitoring his situation and seeing what we can eventually get for him. Obviously, at this point, his trade value isn't too high. He hasn't played for us in over a month and a half. Realistically, we're not going to get a big return for him, but if we can get anything like a second-round pick or just include him in a trade with maybe Marcus Morris at the deadline, that'll be cool. Mitchell Robinson, I said at the end of the last video that I was happy that we haven't had to talk about him a lot, and I'm very happy about that because he's done everything I hoped he would do, and perfectly at that. We don't really have to rave about him a lot because we know what he does. I mean, his defense is uncanny, his rebounding is great, and he's just that's really it though. Like I say, you can't really go on about him for a while, but his athleticism in there and his potential is there. So he's definitely now, unlike Smith Jr., he's definitely the undisputed center of the future. We're not looking to move anybody else there. He's going to be there for a while. He does way too much little stuff to help out the team. RJ Barrett, now, when I personally play with him, it's a little bit shaky, but when he's in simulation, I mean, he's the second highest scorer on the team, and he's playing really good overall, good rebounding numbers, good assist numbers, and the best thing about him for me, honestly, is his jump shot. I mean, he doesn't really miss a lot. He has a great three-point shot, and he's shooting one of the higher percentages on the team, even though he was shaky with it in college. And all in all, he's having a great rookie season. He's going to make the all-rookie first team, and we're very excited about what he has in the future as well. Of course, he's going to probably be the best player on the team within a few years. And lastly, you guys know how much I love what Julius Randle's done this season. He's impressed me a lot more, even though he was the best-rated player on the team and still is. I didn't expect him to play this good, and with that, my only downside with him that I'd like to see him improve is that I'd like to see him shoot some more, honestly. He's shooting around 56% from the field. I think he can sacrifice a couple more shot attempts and lower his field goal percentage, maybe. I'd just like to see him get into the 20s in points per game. Right now, he's around 17. And lastly, I'm just going to show a clip of Wayne Ellington here just to discuss him and Reggie Bullock both. But I don't really know what I'm doing with them at this point. I'm kind of torn with what I'm going to do with them because they're obviously not really good enough to be in the rotation on this team. Both not great defenders, and also I couldn't even get a shot off with Ellington in my first game with him. And Reggie got off a few, but he didn't really hit a lot of them. So I'm not going to force anything and try to put in the rotation. I'm also not going to try to force a trade because they don't really have a lot of value since they're not even playing. But maybe a team like the Thunder I've looked at may want to take them just because they don't have a lot of depth. Teams like that. So we'll look at that stuff. So don't mind me as I go ahead and end off this video with a Bobby Portis and the Spurs jersey clip, because why not? But I'm just excited to get to this Rudy Gay debut as a Knick, and that's what I'm about to go do, play that game. So I'll see you guys then. Cut.